Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the boot-stiff cracked leather and all of someone whose job is death. Not a soldier, not an executioner, but someone a bit quieter, a bit weirder, and possibly wearing the creepiest outfit in European history. Tonight you're a plague doctor. You wake up not in a house, not in an inn, but in a cold, damp room, tucked into the side of a crumbling stone building somewhere on the outskirts of a 17th century plague-stricken city. The straw mattress beneath you is thin, the blanket thinner. You haven't seen your own face in weeks. Mirrors are scarce, and even if you found one, you're not sure you'd recognize the face staring back. Your first thought today isn't breakfast. It's how many new bodies will I see before sunset? You stretch bones, creaking like floorboards, and peer through the shuttered window. Morning light creeps across the cobblestones outside. It's foggy. Good. Fog hides the smell, kind of. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and what time it is where you're watching this. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit on the edge of the bed and listen. Not to birdsong those left months ago, but for the sound of wheels. If the death carts are already rolling through the alleys, that means today's going to be bad. You hear nothing yet. Your robe waits for you on a peg by the door, waxed canvas dark and heavy, designed to block the miasma, the foul air that everyone believes carries the plague. You step into it like someone putting on their own obituary. It smells like smoke herbs and old sweat. Underneath you, wear linen soaked in vinegar. It's supposed to be protective. So is the mask. You turn toward it. Ah, yes. The mask. It hangs from another peg, the long bird-like beak pointing downward, like it's already judging you. Two round glass lenses stare back, unblinking. It's a mask, meant to terrify, but also to filter. The beak is filled with dried flowers, spices, and herbs. Lavender cloves, rose petals, wormwood, maybe a bit of mint. You've changed the content so often that you can't quite remember what's in there anymore. You just know it smells slightly better than the city outside. You pull it over your face. The leather creaks. The lenses fog. Your breath echoes back at you, muffled, damp, and loud. Already it's hard to see that you haven't even left the room. You pick up your cane. Yes, cane. It's not for walking. It's for poking. Sometimes to test reflexes. Sometimes to lift a sheet. Sometimes to keep a panicked person at arm's length. Occasionally to push a rat off a windowsill. Your satchel waits near the door. Inside a notebook, ink pot, quill, a pair of forceps, some perfumed handkerchiefs, and a small bell. You hate the bell. It's for alerting people that the plague doctor is coming down the street like a reverse ice cream man. Before you leave, you pour a little vinegar into a dish and dip a cloth into it. You dab it behind your ears not for cleanliness, for comfort. A superstition. You're full of them now. You open the door. The city greets you like a wet slap. The smell is always the first thing. Even with the herbs in your mask, it hits. The sour rot of flesh, the acrid tang of burning tar, the underlying funk of too many people in too little space with nowhere to go and nothing to eat. You step into the street, your boots hit stone, and the day begins. You're a presence here. People don't speak to you, not unless they have to. Children stare wide-eyed. Adults look away. One woman crosses herself as you pass. Your very existence means someone's already dying. You make your way toward the guild office. That's where the notes are. Every morning someone leaves a list of addresses. Homes with reported symptoms. Neighbors who haven't been seen in days. Places that smell worse than usual. You pass a bakery with shuttered windows. Flour dust clings to the glass. No bread today. You pass a barber's shop with its pole still turning slowly like a sad metronome. You pass a man scrubbing his doorstep with something red, not soap, wine. You know this trick, it's supposed to keep the illness away. You nod as you walk past. He doesn't look up. At the guild office, a young apprentice greets you with a bundle of papers. You've got 3 on the east side, he says, not making eye contact. 2 in the merchant quarter, 1 near the chapel. No bodies reported. Yet. You nod. He hands you a small loaf of hard bread wrapped in cloth. For later, he adds. You slip it into your bag. You likely won't eat it. You head out again. The streets are quieter than yesterday. That usually means one of 2 things. Things are getting better, or everyone's too sick to come outside. And as you turn toward your first stop of the day, you realize you've stopped hoping for the first option. Because hope takes energy, and yours is already running thin. The robe makes it hard to move quickly, which is fine, because nothing about this job rewards speed. You walk slowly, the hem of your waxed cloak brushing damp cobblestones. Your boots slip a little soles worn down to leather ghosts. Every few steps, you adjust your mask. It's pinching again, just under the cheek. Your first visit is just past the fishmonger's row, where the stench of brine has long been replaced with something meatier. You turn the corner cane tapping ahead of you and see the house, wooden, leaning slightly, with one shutter flapping in the breeze like a tired eyelid. The door is closed, but there's a strip of linen tied to the handle. That's the sign. Someone inside is sick or already dead. You knock out of politeness more than expectation. No response. You push it open. Inside it's dark. The curtains have been drawn, the air thick with the sickly perfume of herbs, hung in desperate bunches from the ceiling beams. Thyme, garlic, marjoram, not strong enough to hide the smell beneath. You take 1 step in, 2, then you see the family. The father lies on a straw mat, blankets piled high, face waxy and still. His mouth hangs open in a frozen O. His hands are crossed neatly. Someone arranged him that way. He didn't do it himself. The mother sits nearby, unmoving eyes fixed on the fireless hearth. She's not crying, not speaking, just staring. You're not sure she even sees you. In the corner, a boy, 6, maybe 7, peeks out from behind a blanket. His eyes are enormous. You kneel beside the father, pull your ledger from your bag, dip your quill in ink. Name unknown, age mid-40s. Symptoms boils, visible on neck and arms, skin discoloration, death confirmed, time approximate. You prod the body gently with your cane, rigid, but not yet fully cold. You reach into your satchel for a piece of chalk and mark a crude P on the wall. It stands for plague. It's not official, but it helps the others know what to expect when they come with the cart. You turn to the mother. Ma'am, you say, voice muffled behind your beak. Has he been ill long? She doesn't move. The boy answers for her. 3 days. You nod. And you, no cough, he says quickly. No fever. Not yet. That yet is a dagger. You inspect them both. The mother's hands are trembling. Her breath is shallow. You see it, the early signs. She already knows. You reach into your bag and remove a small pouch of dried lavender. You place it on the floor between them. It may help you lie. The boy nods, as if that's a promise. You stand to leave. But the mother suddenly speaks. Will he rise? You stop. Rise. She looks at you now. Really looks. Her eyes are dry, too dry. Will he come back? You hesitate. No, you say softly. She nods. Once, turns back to the hearth. You leave. Outside the fog has thickened. Your breath curls out from the beak like steam from a kettle. You mark the address in your ledger and move on. 1 house down. 6 more to go. You wonder how many will be alive when you get there. Probably not most. As you walk, you pass a tavern with its door nailed shut. A piece of parchment flaps on the doorframe. Closed until the end. You'd laugh if it didn't feel accurate. You see a priest, young, sweating, walking fast. He nods at you, but doesn't stop. No one wants to be seen standing next to death too long, even the clergy. At the next house, a man answers the door with a scarf tied tightly over his mouth. He holds a crucifix in one hand and a chamber pot in the other. My wife, he says. She's not moving. You follow him in. The wife lies on a cot, skin pale a boil, blooming near her collarbone. She opens her eyes when you enter. She smiles. You almost drop your cane. She's the first patient all week who looked at you without fear. You examine her, gently, hands wrapped in oiled cloth. You ask the usual questions. She answers softly. No bleeding yet. Fever high but not dire. You leave her some herbs. A cloth soaked in vinegar. You whisper, rest, and stay warm. Then, for reasons you don't quite understand, you place your gloved hand on hers. It's small, cold. She grips your fingers once, then lets go. You stand to leave. Her husband follows you to the door. Will she die? You pause. I don't know, You answer honestly. He nods. As you step back into the street, you wonder if you should have lied. The fog has thickened into something like snow, but it's still just mist, just the city exhaling its sadness. You walk on. The day is still young, and there's plenty of dying left to do. The beak makes everything sound farther away. Your own footsteps feel distant, like someone else is walking a few paces behind you. Your breath echoes in the mask. Every inhale carries a whisper of cloves, thyme, and a rotting orange slice you forgot to replace 3 days ago. Your vision is slightly warped. Those glass lenses were never made for clarity. Looking through them is like peering through fogged windows smeared with vinegar. You duck under a laundry line. Somehow, even with death all around, people are still hanging their clothes to dry. The city doesn't stop. It just wilts. You adjust your hat, a broad-brimmed piece of felt meant to mark your status, though everyone already knows what you are. The outfit is unmistakable. A leather-covered phantom, a stitched-up bird sent by the devil, or perhaps more generously by the city council. You didn't invent this uniform. It was designed in the early 1600s, a sort of Renaissance hazmat suit. Historians still argue whether it was truly widespread or just exaggerated in woodcuts later. Either way, it's what people think of when they hear plague doctor, and that matters more than accuracy. You turn down a narrow lane, feet crunching over something that might have once been hay. Or rats. Hard to tell now. You stop to lean against a wall and catch your breath. The robe is heavy. It clings to you. Sweat trickles down your back, despite the cold. The beak doesn't help. It's a hot box. The herbs inside were meant to purify the air back when people believed illness traveled through bad smells. Miasma, they called it. Foul air. Invisible poison. No one knew about bacteria, or fleas, or rats hitching rides on merchant ships. You reach into the mask with 2 fingers and adjust the little pouch of lavender. It does nothing. Still, it makes you feel better. You walk again. At the next corner, 2 children peek out from behind a barrel, their barefoot faces smudged with soot. One holds a stick. The other clutches a doll, missing its head. Birdman, one of them whispers. You turn toward them. Slowly. They gasp and vanish behind the barrel. You sigh. Can't blame them. You remember the first time you saw one of these masks years ago. You were terrified too. It looked like something out of a nightmare. But now it's just part of your face, part of your routine. Put on the beak. Go face the plague. Try not to die. The beak's design isn't entirely ridiculous. The herbs may not stop infection, but they do block the worst of the smells. That's not nothing. It also creates distance. You can't see the grief in people's eyes. You can't feel their breath on your skin. You become an observer, a watcher, a feathered sentinel in a time of rot. A rat scurries past your boot. You don't flinch. Not anymore. You used to try to catch them, thought maybe you could find something useful. But after one bit you, through the cloth, you stopped. You reach the next house. The door is open. That's bad. You step inside. The walls are stained with smoke. A woman lies on the floor near the fireplace, one arm draped over her face. You kneel beside her. She's breathing barely. Her eyes flutter open. "Are you the angel?" she whispers. You hesitate. "No." "Pity," she says, and passes out again. You inspect her. No boils yet, but fever, dry mouth, shallow pulse. You leave water within reach, a sprig of mint. You chalk an X on the doorframe. As you turn to leave, you pause. You don't know her name. No one here has names anymore. Just symptoms, just stages of decay, living, dying, or dead. You add her to your book. Entry number 47, unnamed, female, approx. 30, fevered, prognosis, poor. You close the book and step outside. Someone calls to you from across the street. It's the apprentice from earlier, thin as a reed, out of breath. He waves a parchment. "Urgent," he says, panting. "Merchant's daughter, near the square." You nod. Another detour. You head for the square. As you go, you think about the beak, the way people recoil from it, the way they assume you bring death with you, not healing. You are not a healer. You are a scribe of suffering, a witness, a ticking clock in a dark robe. Still you walk. Still you show up. Still you wear the mask. Because someone has to. And when you pass windows, you sometimes catch your reflection in the glass. Just for a second. Just long enough to see the creature you've become. Then it vanishes, like everything else. You reach the square, just as a bell tolls faintly in the distance. It's not a church bell, it's a cart, a wooden wheel wobbling on uneven stone, the death cart making its morning rounds, echoing through alleyways like an exhausted warning, one corpse at a time. But right now, your focus is the merchant's daughter. You recognize the building. High stone walls, painted shutters, a door that once would have glistened with brass polish, but now hangs slightly ajar, its polish long eaten away by dust and despair. A tapestry hangs limp inside the threshold. Wealth has never protected anyone from the plague. It only means they die in cleaner rooms. A servant greets you, masked, pale, wringing his hands like they might wash away his guilt. "She's upstairs," he says, eyes darting. "Second door. They said to fetch you right away." You nod. He steps aside. You climb. The stairs creak with each step, old timber protesting your weight, or maybe just the weight of the job. At the top, the door is already open. You enter. The room is bright sunlight spilling across a canopied bed. The girl lies atop it, hair fanned like ink across parchment. Her skin is fever-slick cheeks, flushed, lips cracked. You cross the room quietly. The mask always makes your footsteps sound farther away, like you're not really here, like you're haunting her already. Her mother sits beside the bed, hands clasped tight. Her dress is immaculate, lace collar, no wrinkles. You know she hasn't slept. Wealth clings to her posture, but not her eyes. Her eyes are red swollen and locked on her daughter's every twitch. She had a chill last night, the woman whispers. Now, the fever. She says strange things. Is it the plague, you kneel? Check the girl's pulse. Rapid. Shallow. Her eyes flutter open. She focuses on you. Bird, she says. You nod once. Yes. She smiles faintly. Do you fly? You pause. Only in dreams. She closes her eyes again. You examine her further. No boils yet, no bleeding, but the fever is deep and her breath rattles. You ask about symptoms. The mother answers. You ask about contact. The mother hesitates. She was at the seamstress's last week, she says finally. The woman there died 2 days ago. You mark that in your ledger. You pull out a handkerchief soaked in vinegar and thyme. You place it gently over the girl's mouth and nose, not to treat, but to soothe. Her breathing slows a little. She will recover, the mother asks. You straighten slowly. Possibly. It's a lie. Or maybe not. Historians still argue whether early symptoms always spelled doom. Some recovered. A few, maybe. The girl's hand twitches. You set down a small pouch of herbs by her pillow. Then the door creaks behind you. A man enters, tall, thin, cloaked in gray, with ink-stained fingers. The tallyman. He carries a tablet and a hard stare. Report, he says without greeting. You gesture toward the girl. Suspected plague, early signs, contact with confirmed fatality. Name. You give it. He writes it down. Prognosis, uncertain. He raises an eyebrow. Optimistic for a man in a beak. You don't reply. He steps closer. You doctors think yourself above numbers. But we have quotas, rations, firewood, coffins. I need certainty. You look back at the girl. I need time. He snorts. Time's the one thing she doesn't have. He turns and leaves. The mother hasn't moved, just watches him go, then whispers, I can pay. You don't respond. You leave a sealed letter with her instructions for what to do if her daughter worsens. How to prepare the room, how to summon the cart. Then you go. Outside the cart is back. A man in a ragged cloak stands beside it, wiping sweat from his brow. The wheel squeaks with every turn. He sees you. Any for me? You shake your head. Yet. He nods. The word doesn't sting anymore. You walk away. The sky has darkened, not from clouds, but from smoke. Somewhere nearby they're burning linens, or maybe bodies. You pass a fountain where pigeons used to bathe. Now it's just a dry bowl, cracked and moss-covered. You pass another doctor, recognizable by the hat, the robe. You nod to each other. Neither speaks. Solidarity in silence. You glance at your list. Still 4 names left. You wish you'd eaten that bread. Instead, you adjust the mask again and keep moving, because this job doesn't wait, because the dead don't delay, and because the city never really sleeps It just lies still and waits for you to knock. Your boots squelch in something that probably used to be food, or hay, or a rat. It's hard to tell anymore. Everything's turning into everything else these days. The alley smells like old cabbage, wet dog, and something unmistakably dead. You try breathing only through your mouth, but the beak forces the air to curl upward, dragging the scent of rosemary and rotting apples back into your sinuses, comforting and revolting at once. The streets are mostly empty now. Most people stay indoors. Those who can afford to flee already have. The rest peer through cracked shutters as you pass, as if glimpsing you might invite death to look the other way. No one calls out. No one asks for help. You round a corner and almost step into a pile of feathers. Pigeon, maybe. No body, just feathers and blood. Probably a cat, or hunger, or both. The city is crumbling around you, and still it breathes. Still fires burn in a few windows. Still water trickles from the broken aqueduct. Still someone has hung laundry between two buildings, as if clean sheets might fend off the end of the world. You step over a discarded shoe. It's small, a child's. You don't look around for the owner. Your mask makes it easy to stay forward-facing. Eyes locked straight, emotions tucked behind two glass circles and a foot of bird-shaped wood. You arrive at the next house. It leans against its neighbor like a drunk. Shutters open, door ajar. You knock anyway. It creaks open wider. Inside the hallway is narrow and crooked. You step through slowly, cane out testing the floorboards. You call out softly, "Doctor." Silence. You pass a stairwell with missing railings. A cat hisses at you from the shadows. It disappears into the ceiling. The smell here is sharper, foul, immediate. You know this smell. It means you're too late. You follow your nose. The kitchen is empty. So is the back room, and then you find it, the body curled beneath a table as if death caught them, mid-hiding. A man, gray-haired, clutching a satchel. You crouch down. No movement. You prod gently with your cane. Still. You jot it down. Male. Age. Approx. 60. Found alone. No immediate signs of trauma. Odor suggests 24 to 36 hours post-mortem. You notice a paper in his hand. You peel it free. A letter. The ink is smeared from moisture, maybe tears. You can still read parts. To my sister, if they let you return, bury me near mother. Don't let them throw me in the pit. You fold it, place it back in his fingers. You don't make promises you can't keep. The tallyman will mark this as a solitary death. No quarantine needed. You glance around the house one last time. Then you leave. You re-enter the street. The wind has picked up. It carries the sound of something distant metal, clanging, a baby crying, or maybe just a roof tile slipping free. As you walk, a boy sprints past you, barefoot, shirtless eyes, wild. He doesn't look at you. He's chasing a dog, or being chased? It's hard to say. You pass a well. A sign has been nailed above it. Do not drink. The ink is thick, smeared with something dark. You don't ask questions. A few streets over, you see a body being loaded onto a cart. The collector wears no mask, just a scarf soaked in spirits. He mutters to himself, hums an old song about wheat fields and spring. You pass him. He nods. You nod back. Neither of you slows. You reach another lane. This one is worse. Trash piles line the edges. Rats scatter in plain sight. You count at least 5 without trying. They don't run from you anymore. One even stops and sniffs your boot before waddling off with regal indifference. You glance at your list. Next house, number 17, Rue des Cordes. You see it ahead. Someone's drawn a crude cross on the door. Not your mark. Someone else's. Maybe a warning, maybe a prayer. You knock. This time you hear movement. A voice. Weak. Come in. You push the door. Inside it's dim but alive. A man lies on a cot. His wife kneels beside him, wiping his brow with a wet cloth. You kneel, inspect. Buboes under the arms. Fever. Labored breath. He opens his eyes. Are you... the end? You pause. Not yet. He chuckles once, coughs. Blood in the cloth. His wife asks, can he be saved? You don't lie. Possibly, you say. But only with rest and time. You hand her a packet of herbs. She thanks you, holds it like treasure. You rise. The man reaches for your glove. Thank you, he says. You nod once, then turn. Outside, the sun is slipping behind rooftops. The light turns copper, then rust. Shadows lengthen. The city begins to sigh. You head for the next house. You walk slower now, because the worst part isn't the dying. It's the walking through it again and again and again, and knowing tomorrow you'll do it all over. The house is crooked, slumping to one side, like it's tired of holding itself up. The shutters hang unevenly, one swinging slightly in the breeze, with a soft clack-clack, like an old jaw chewing on nothing. You pause outside. Something in your gut clenches. The street is silent. Not even rats here. Just the sound of wind whistling through an open window above. You tap the doorframe twice with your cane, not as a courtesy, as a warning to whatever waits inside, or perhaps to yourself. You step in. The smell hits you immediately, sweet, sour, unmistakably wrong. You steel yourself. You've smelled this before, many times. Death and heat mixed in a way that suggests whoever you've come to see. You're already too late. You call out softly, "Doctor." No answer. You move slowly down the hallway. The walls are close, as if the house is trying to swallow you whole. At the end of the corridor, you see it, a body slumped in a chair, legs splayed awkwardly, one shoe missing. You approach. Male, late 30s maybe, face sunken, mouth agape. A black pustule rests just beneath his ear like a dark pearl. You crouch beside him and take out your notebook. Entry 49. Male. Approx 35 to 40. Bubonic presentation. Found seated. No family present. As you scribble your sleeve brushes against the man's coat, you freeze, then slowly pull back. You check your robe. No breach. No tear. Still, you feel that phantom itch. The one that makes you strip naked the moment you get home every night, boiling water and scrubbing your skin until it's raw. You stand. In the corner of the room is a table. On it sits a bowl of rotting fruit and an empty bottle of wine. A book lies open beside it. You glance at the pages. Psalms. There's a second chair. An impression in the seat cushion. Someone else was here. You scan the room again. The back door is ajar. You step outside and catch sight of a figure disappearing around the alley's bend. A woman, maybe, carrying something bundled in cloth. You don't follow. There are rules. You're not the guard. You're not a priest. You don't chase the living. You mark the house, chalk the X, and you leave. Back in the street, someone's watching. A girl, maybe 6 years old, perched on a stoop across the lane. Her knees are hugged to her chest, and she stares at you with the dull, unblinking gaze of someone who's seen too much too early. You pause. "Where's your family?" you ask, your voice muffled inside the beak. She shrugs. You crouch. "Are you sick?" She shakes her head. You nod toward the house. "Did you know the man there?" She nods. "Your father." Another nod. You hesitate. She says nothing else, just stares. You reach into your satchel and pull out a small pouch, dried rosemary, lavender, and clove, not medicine, not even useful. But it smells like something not dead. You hold it out. She doesn't move. You set it beside her on the step. Then you stand and turn away. You don't mark her. You don't report her. You don't write her down. Some things even now don't belong in ledgers. You continue your route. The next house is closer to the river. The wind there carries a different stench, brine fish, and rot. A combination that used to mean commerce. Now it just means floating corpses if the tide's wrong. You cross a small bridge and pass a fisherman pouring vinegar on his nets. He nods at you. You nod back. His face is wrapped in cloth, eyes red-rimmed, still trying to earn a coin while the world collapses. You wonder if you should stop, check him, but your list pulls you onward. House number 52, another crooked roof, another creaking door. Inside it's quiet, but not empty. A woman sits beside a bed. On the bed, a boy, maybe 10, breathing fast, eyes glazed. A fever dream. She looks up at you. "You're late," she says. Her voice isn't angry, just exhausted. He's been waiting. You approach the bed. The boy turns his head toward you, smiles faintly. "You're the crow," he says. Close enough, you reply. You kneel and check his pulse. Weak. His skin is hot to the touch. You look at the mother. When did it start? 2 days ago. He played in the market. He came home coughing. You nod. Pull out your flask. Offer a few drops of bitter tonic. He grimaces but swallows. You glance around. It's clean here. Too clean. Everything scrubbed. Sheets boiled. Floor mopped. She's fighting it with everything she has. Will it help? She asks. You meet her eyes. I hope so. The boy closes his eyes again. You hand her a packet. Burn it near his pillow. Don't leave his side. She doesn't thank you. She just sits back down and takes his hand. You leave quietly. Outside the air has thickened. Evening creeping in. Lamps flickering one by one. The streets aren't empty, but they're close. You walk faster. Your boots are heavier now, not from distance, from stories, from people who call you the crow, the bird, the angel, the omen. And all you ever do is knock on doors. Your fingers are stiff as you open your ledger again. Ink smudges in the corner from earlier. Maybe sweat, maybe rain. You rub it absently, then write the next entry. Entry 50. Male child. Approx. Age 10. Early symptoms. Fever-light coughing. No visible buboes. You note the location, the mother's efforts, the herbal pouch you left. A small act of hope recorded in a book that smells more like loss each day. The next name is scrawled in red, an urgent case flagged by the guild. You squint at it. The handwriting belongs to Surgeon Durand. His script is always messy, like he's riding on a galloping horse. Unknown male. Found collapsed in market. Delirious. Suspected contact with merchant death cluster. You sigh. The market. You haven't wanted to go back there since the last time. Since that butcher sneezed blood onto your sleeve mid-sentence and died before he could finish his complaint about taxes. Still you go. The cobblestones feel uneven here, slick from spilled broth, wilted cabbage leaves, and maybe other less identifiable fluids. You step over a broken basket, the remnants of turnips, half eaten by rats. The stalls are mostly closed now. Those still open offer herbs, vinegar, and talismans, drawn in chalk. One old woman calls out to you, her voice high and cracked. Dr. Want, the garlic charm. My son wore. It didn't get sick, not even once. You raise your hand in silent refusal and keep walking. Garlic doesn't stop. What's already inside the blood? The man is slumped beneath a faded awning, face down, half curled. A stray dog sniffs him, then bolts when it sees you. You crouch beside the man. He's breathing, barely. His skin is blotchy, flushed. You see swelling along his neck and behind his knees, strange places for buboes, but not unheard of. You check for wounds. Nothing obvious. He groans softly as you roll him slightly, then mutters something nonsense, syllables like a prayer, in reverse. You pull a sheet of paper from your satchel and begin recording entry 51. Male, mid-30s, found in public market, unconscious. Buboes in uncommon locations. Disoriented speech. No identification. You consider what to do. He can't stay here, but you're not strong enough to carry him. Just then, the death cart rounds the corner. The driver sees you and veers closer, calling out, "Alive?" Or "Dead alive," you answer, but fading. He groans, barely worth the effort. Still, with some grumbling, he helps you lift the man onto the cart, laying him on a pile of linens that might have been someone's bed sheets this morning. You instruct the driver to take him to the quarantine ward. Which one, he asks. You hesitate. The quiet one. He knows what you mean. Not the one with screaming, the other. The one where silence settles faster. As the cart rattles away, you glance at the market once more. A boy stands at a distance, watching, holding a small cage. Inside it, a rat. You walk over. The boy doesn't run. He just lifts the cage. "Found him near the baker's," he says. You look closely. The rat is unusually fat, clean, and sleepy. "Why bring it to me?" you ask. They say plague comes from rats. He's right. Maybe. Historians still argue whether fleas, rats, or air itself were truly to blame. You nod. Take the cage gently. "Thanks. What will you do with it?" "Observe. Learn. Possibly name him." The boy chuckles. "Don't let him bite you." You smile under the mask. That's the plan. He runs off. You carry the cage back toward the alley where your next appointment waits. You set it gently on the edge of a crate and scribble some notes. "Fat rat. No signs of lesions. Unusual calmness." Then you dig out your ink. You sit on a nearby barrel, flip to a clean sheet, and begin writing. Not for the guild this time. This page is personal. You sketch the rat. You jot a theory about its behavior. You wonder aloud, what if the rats get used to the sickness? What if they change faster than we do? The wind picks up again, blowing a few dry leaves across your boots. A bell rings in the distance. You look up. Smoke curls above the rooftops to the west. Another fire, maybe. Or a mass burning. Or someone making soup with hope and onions and no time left. You check your list again. Next house is nearby. 3 alleys over. As you rise, the rat sneezes. You pause. Note that down too. You are a doctor with no cure, no vaccine, no hope of outrunning what's already here. But still you take notes. Still you walk. Still you listen when rats sneeze, because if not you, then who? And if not now, then what else is there to do but keep moving forward? One corpse, one cough, one scribble at a time. You reach for your chalk as you stand in front of the next door. This one has no mark yet. That's what you're here for. Not just to diagnose or comfort, but to track. To leave behind signs for the living and warnings for those who follow. The house is modest, quiet shutters, pulled shut, as if the walls themselves are bracing against what's coming. You knock. This time the door creaks open almost immediately. A man in a clerk's robe peers out. He looks healthy, too healthy, the kind of healthy that feels like a lie. "Ah," he says. "Doctor, come in quickly. We have questions." Of course they do. He ushers you into a sitting room where two others wait, a tall woman with her arms crossed and a short man scribbling notes feverishly. "We've tallied numbers," the woman says, without introduction. "Cross-checked with parish records. Something doesn't match. You blink behind your beaked mask. You've tallied the dead." "We're officials," the clerk explains. "Tallymen for the Southern Quarter. Of course, every city needs its death accountants, especially now. They seem less like mourners and more like tax collectors whose ledger has stopped balancing." The short one speaks up. "We show 314 marked deaths on Rue Saint-Camille, but your ledger lists only 298. You pull out your book. They crowd around, murmuring as you flip pages. One of them snorts. "You wrote possibly dead, but cat uncooperative." "What does that mean?" You reply calmly. "It means the only witness was feline and not forthcoming." They don't laugh. You point at a few names. "These were recorded twice. Same person, two different addresses, possibly fled one house for another before dying." "Ah," they murmur. You flip further. "And these 5, all rumors, never confirmed, no bodies, no confirmation, just neighbors talking." The woman sighs. "We want accuracy." You nod. "So do I." But even now, historians still debate plague numbers. How many died? How many were missed? How many were buried in places no one bothered to mark? Accuracy is a dream. Still, you update the tally. They thank you, offer you a biscuit, which you decline. You're not here to snack. And you've learned that food offered in plague time is often the last thing someone touched before vanishing into fever. Back on the street, you make another note. Met with Tallymen South Quarter. Adjusted entries. Biscuits look suspect. The wind picks up again, scattering leaves and the occasional scrap of fabric. Somewhere nearby, a bell rings, once low and solemn, a funeral tone, or a warning. You round a corner and nearly step into a pile of ash. Just ash. And a blackened pot. You suspect a vigil fire. Someone tried to ward off disease with smoke, but forgot to watch the flame. You scrawl a quick note about it in your book, not because it's important, but because documenting absurdity helps keep you sane. The next door you knock on is painted blue. The color has faded, flaked, and peeled like a sunburn. A boy answers, maybe 12. He looks tired. "Mother's upstairs," he says. "She won't eat." You follow him in. The staircase creaks under your weight. The boy doesn't join you. He waits at the bottom fingers, twisted in his tunic, like he's praying with his hands. Upstairs, the room is dark. A single candle flickers. His mother lies on a bed that was once neatly made, now sagging with use and grief. She turns her head as you enter. "So, you've come," she whispers. "I have. You'll write my name down, if needed." She smiles slightly. "That's something. You sit beside her. She talks about her husband gone, her neighbors fled, the silence in the house that grows heavier every hour. You listen. You check her vitals. Her skin is cold, her breath shallow. But there are no boils, no coughing, no telltale signs, just exhaustion. You give her a few drops of tincture and whisper instructions. She grips your gloved hand before you rise. Promise me something. You pause. Don't let the boy watch. You nod. Back downstairs, you pass the boy and say gently, "She's resting. Let her sleep. You should eat something." He nods. You exit. And you chalk a small question mark beside the door. Not dead. Not living. Not yet. Later, someone else can decide what that mark meant. Down the road, the city begins to shift. More windows open. More coughing heard. Distant voices call out names. Some hopeful, some desperate. You pass a cart covered in linens. One of the cloths flutters just enough to reveal a pale foot. A dog trails the cart nose, twitching tail. Low, it knows what's inside. You do too. You reach another alley. A woman leans out of her window. "Doctor," she calls. There's a man, coughing blood, 2 doors down. You wave your thanks and walk toward the house. Inside, you'll find another story, another entry, another puzzle to add to your quiet-beaked journal of survival. But before you knock again, you write in the margins, day tally 7, calls 3, dead 2, uncertain, 1 rat in cage, 0 moments of hope. You pause. Cross that out. Maybe 1. You glance back at the blue house. The candle still flickers in the upstairs window. It's enough. The chapel stands alone, its doors slightly ajar like a mouth that no longer speaks. The iron bell above hasn't rung in days, maybe weeks. No one wants to gather, no one wants to sing, not in a time when breathing together might kill the entire choir. You step inside anyway. The stone is cool beneath your feet, and the scent is strangely clean wax dust, a hint of mold, not the sharp rotting sweetness of the streets. You take a deep breath through the beak of your mask. Even with the herbs stuffed in the nose, the air here feels thinner, like the place itself is holding its breath. There's a priest. You see him in the far pew, a lone figure slumped in prayer. His back is straight, but only just. He wears no vestments, just a threadbare tunic and the weight of too many funerals. He doesn't look up as you approach, so you sit a few feet away, close enough to speak, far enough not to offend the strange new etiquette of plague time. "We've stopped using holy water," he says quietly. "Too risky." You nod, though he doesn't see it. They still come sometimes. The brave ones, or the desperate. One woman brought her husband's boot and asked if I could bless that instead of his body. "What did you do?" you ask. "I blessed the laces." You both chuckle softly. It's a small sound, a human one. "I used to keep records," he continues. "Confessions, marriages, last rites. Now no one wants to confess. They just want to be remembered. You understand that.
The ledger you carry is a kind of gospel now. The only record many people will have. No ceremony. Just your crooked handwriting and a chalked X on the door. He glances at your mask. Do you still believe, he asks? You tilt your head. In God, in anything. You pause for longer than is polite. I believe in paper, you say finally, and ink, and walking. He nods. That's something. The light shifts. The sun pushing through stained glass casts red and gold across the pews. For a moment the world looks holy again, even if it's only a trick of light. You rise. The priest doesn't. Be careful, he says, as you turn to go. You're carrying more than disease. You stop at the chapel door and look back. He hasn't moved. You step outside. The light blinds you for a moment. Afternoon again, or maybe late morning. The sun is unreliable these days. So is your sense of time. You move on. At the next street corner, a boy stands with a bundle of dried herbs in one hand and a sign in the other. Protection 2 coins. His voice is hoarse from calling out. Wormwood sage, blessed by the priest of St. Clair. You know there is no priest of St. Clair. He died last week, fell into a pit while trying to burn linens. It wasn't even a dramatic death, just clumsy and sad. You buy some herbs anyway. The boy grins. Good choice. Keeps demons out of your lungs. You nod. Do they work? Worked on my sister. You don't ask where his sister is now. Instead, you tie the bundle to your belt and continue. Down another alley, past shuttered homes and discarded buckets. You hear music, faint distant. A violin. You follow it. A woman stands in an upper window, bow in hand, drawing long, slow notes from the strings. It's not a song you recognize. It has no rhythm, no chorus, just sound, slow and searching. Below her, 2 children dance. Not joyfully, just moving, like they need to remind their bodies what it feels like to bend and sway. You stop. Watch. They see you. One child points. The other waves. You raise a hand. You do not write anything down. You do not mark their door. You just keep walking. Another corner. Another street. You check your ledger. Entry 52. Visited chapel of St. Eloise. Priest alive, but fading. No incense. No hope either. You flip the page. Entry 53. Street violin unknown origin. Spirits lifted. Not medically significant, but humanly important. A dog follows you for a few blocks, then gives up. Your scent is too herbal, too strange. Not enough meat under all the linen. A man approaches next, middle-aged, flushed, but no cough. Doctor, he says, my wife. She thinks she has it. She might not, but she's scared. Could you just check her hands? You nod. Follow him. The wife is curled in bed, face covered. She trembles as you enter. You sit beside her and take her hand. Warm, dry, no swelling. You speak gently, ask questions. She answers through the blanket. Her symptoms are vague fear, more than fever, dread, not disease. You mix a mild tonic and hand it over. You know it's just water and mint, but your voice is steady. She drinks it like holy wine. You rise. Scribble in your book, entry 54. Psychosomatic onset, prescribed calm and mint. You thank the man. He thanks you more. Outside you pause. The air feels slightly lighter, or maybe your legs do. You think of the priest. You think of the violin. You think of the woman holding her own hand under the blanket trying to remember what comfort feels like. And you keep going, because there's no final prayer for this, no benediction, just footsteps, pages, and breath behind a beak-shaped mask. You sit on a crumbling bench beneath the skeletal remains of a tree. Its branches claw the air like it's trying to escape its own roots. You untie the herb bundle the boy sold you. Wormwood, sage, a few sprigs of rosemary, not bad for street-grade protection. You tug open the little brass pomander that hangs from your belt, your constant companion. The hinge squeaks. Inside, the last of yesterday's herbs crumble into fragrant dust. You empty it. Then, slowly, deliberately, you pack in the fresh bundle, twisting the stems to fit inside the hollow sphere. The scent rises, immediately, sharp, medicinal, vaguely like a funeral wreath made by someone who meant well but didn't know the deceased. Snap. You close the pomander, a small act, almost ritual, not unlike prayer, really. You hang it back on your belt and stand. The weight of it swings slightly. It won't save you, but it might keep you standing for another hour, and that's often all you need. The next house is tucked behind a narrow alley, nearly swallowed by ivy and creeping rot. You knock. A woman opens the door, pale and thin, her eyes wide. She doesn't speak, just holds up a bundle clothes, tiny clothes. A baby. Gone. You don't ask questions. She points to the back room. You follow. Inside, the air is still. The child lies in a wicker basket, limbs curled, face serene, almost sleeping. No lesions, no boils, just stillness. You kneel beside the basket. You open your notebook. Entry 55. Female infant. Approx. Age 4 to 5 months. Sudden stop in breath. No prior symptoms. House clean. You close the book gently. Outside the room, the woman is lighting something. A handful of twigs and leaves in a small clay bowl. Smoke curls upward, thin and gray. My grandmother used to burn lavender for peace, she says. We don't have lavender, so I use thyme. It's a good choice, you murmur. I didn't want her to be cold. She hands you a small sock. I made these. You look down at it, so tiny, your gloved thumb fills half the opening. You bow your head. I'll remember, you say. And you will. Not in a way the guild will record, but in the invisible tally that accumulates behind your eyes. You step outside again. A gust of wind carries the scent of time and smoke with you. Down the lane, you spot something unusual. Chalk on the wall, but not yours. Someone's drawn a circle with an eye in the middle. Protective, magic, street art. Desperation disguised as creativity. You add a note in your book, graffiti symbol, eye in circle, meaning unclear, likely hope, possibly boredom. You walk past it. Ahead, a familiar face waves at you. Old Corbin, the herb seller, who refuses to die. He looks the same as always, wiry hunched eyes too bright. Doctor, he calls. Need more beak snacks? You chuckle despite yourself. I've got lavender, he adds, triumphantly. You walk over. Corbin pulls a pouch from his sleeve and drops it into your palm. Free for you. You're still walking, so I suppose your spells are working. I deal in vinegar and quarantine, you reply. Not spells. Ah, same difference. You thank him and move on. The next few houses are uneventful. One patient improving, one family relocated, one empty but clearly looted. No doors, no linens, only footprints in the dust, and a rat carcass pinned under a stool like it lost a very petty war. You sit again, this time on the steps of a bakery. The smell of old flour lingers, sweet, dusty, ghostly. You light your pomander again. This time it's not for medicine. It's for atmosphere. Because the air is heavy and your legs ache, and for a few minutes you want to imagine you're just a strange bird-masked traveler who enjoys expensive spices and candle smoke. You lean back. A child walks past with a stick and a hoop. The stick is broken. The hoop wobbles, but still he rolls it. You write entry 56. No deaths this hour. One child playing might survive. Then you flip the page. Draw a flower. Not well. Just a rough circle with petals that are more teardrops than blossoms. You label it Rosemary for remembrance. Historians still debate whether pomanders worked, whether the fragrant herbs in your beak made any difference, whether you were spared by luck or by layers of wool and leather that happened to keep fleas at bay. You don't care much, because something about the scent does ease your breath. And when everything else smells like rot and fear rosemary and sage feel like resistance, you rise and you walk. The wind shifts. You hold your pomander near your mask's beak slit and inhale deeply. The herbs crackle faintly. You imagine for a heartbeat that you are not a plague doctor, just a gardener in strange clothes, tending a city that forgot how to bloom. And you walk on. A narrow alley funnels you into shadow, and for a few moments, all you hear is your own breathing, slow muffled, wheezing, slightly through the herbs stuffed in your beaked mask. You round a corner and almost trip over something soft. It moves. You stop, heart thudding. A pair of eyes stares up at you from a bundle of rags.
Not a corpse. Not yet. A child. Thin. Dirty. His nose is running. You can't tell if he's sick or just surviving badly. He doesn't flinch. You crouch slowly, your knees creaking under layers of linen and sweat-soaked wool. What's your name, you ask? He shrugs. Then, doesn't matter. My sister called me Beetle. You nod. Fair enough. You glance around. There's no adult nearby. Just debris. A few broken crates, the distant moan of a warped door banging in the wind. Where's your sister? He shrugs again. Ran off. Or died. Or turned into a crow. She liked crows. Did she give you anything? He lifts a string from his pocket. A crude doll made of twine and chicken bones. Its head is a walnut shell. One eye is a bead. The other is missing. She said it keeps you safe, if you believe in it. That's a powerful doll. He nods solemnly. You consider what to do. You reach into your satchel and pull out a spare pomander, a smaller one made of cheap tin dented. You tap it against your glove. This keeps smells out, you say. Some people say it keeps bad dreams out, too. He eyes it. Want it? He hesitates. Is it cursed? Probably, you admit. But only in a good way. He takes it, clutches it, with both hands. You rise. He stands too, follows. Down the alley, another child appears, then another. They emerge like shy ghosts, silent, curious, hungry. None older than 10. All watching you. One tugs your sleeve. Are you the doctor with the bird head? I might be. Are you here to take our names? You blink. Why? Because no one else does anymore. You kneel again, pull out your notebook. All right, one at a time. They line up. Tell you their names, real ones, or names they made up. It doesn't matter. You write them all. Beetle, Onion, Red, Mouse. Little Thomas, who insists he's Big Thomas now. A girl who says her name is Candle because she's the only light left in the house. You write each one down. You add entry 57. Street children, unnamed alley, near Rue Morte. Names taken. Status alive. For now. Will we be in the book forever? Beetle asks. Yes. Even if we die, especially then. He nods. Accepts this. One of them offers you a crust of bread. It's rock hard. You take it anyway. Trade them a sprig of mint from your belt. To them, it's treasure. They argue over who gets to sniff it first. Don't eat it all at once, you say. Beetle grins. We'll plant it. Not sure that's how herbs work. He shrugs. Still. As you leave the alley, you glance back. They're gone. Disappeared back into the bricks and shadows. You wonder how many you'll see again. How many names will remain in your ledger without bodies to match. You walk on your boots, slapping wet cobblestone. Your breath a slow echo in the hollow beak. You round another bend and hear sobbing. You find a young girl alone beside a door, marked with an old chalk X. Faded, smudged. She looks up. I'm not sick. I believe you. My parents went in yesterday. No one came out. You glance at the door.
Quiet. I can't leave. They said stay. You crouch beside her. You have a name. She nods. Joe. Joe, do you want to wait with me for a minute? She hesitates. Then, only if you sit. So you do. You both sit backs against the opposite wall, facing the closed door and the unknown behind it. You pull a dried sprig of lavender from your pouch. Hold it between you. Smell. She leans in. Breathes. That's nice. You sit together 1 minute. 2. You don't open the door. Not yet. Sometimes the most helpful thing is to wait. To be present. To share the weight of silence. Finally, Joe leans her head against your arm. I think I'll go find my aunt, she murmurs. You nod. She's 2 streets away. That's not far. Will you still write me down? You tap your book. Already did. She stands, dusts her dress, walks off. You watch her until she disappears. Then you rise. You don't open the door. Not yet. You write entry 58. Girl named Joe. Possibly orphaned. Gave lavender. Left by choice. You chalk a new X on the door. Then walk away. Behind you, a pigeon lands on the sill and watches you go, probably the healthiest creature on the street. You round the corner, and there it is, the cart. Worn wood iron wheels, screeching faintly with each jolt. 2 horses lead it at a plod, their ribs visible beneath dull coats. A pair of men walk beside it, one older one, young enough to still flinch when something groans inside. This is the collection. You've seen it every day for weeks, maybe months. It still doesn't look right. A wagon. For bread. Acceptable. For firewood. Fine. But for people the older man Gregoire sees you first. He waves. Doctor, he calls, as if you're not ankle deep in ash and grief. You nod. Point to a doorway ahead. This one, you say. Inside. Back room. He gestures to the younger boy who looks at you like he might be sick already. Go on, Jules Gregoire mutters. Jules hesitates, then disappears into the house. Gregoire leans on the cart. Another baby. You nod. That's 3 today, he mutters. Some say it skips children. Some say it only kills them. Historians still argue. You reply. He snorts. Historians aren't hauling bodies, are they? You don't answer. The door creaks. Jules emerges carrying a bundle wrapped in a sheet so thin the outline is unmistakable. He's gentle. He's learned. The body goes on top, not inside. The cart is nearly full. Jules wipes his hands on his trousers. Tries not to meet your eyes. The cart creaks onward. You follow for a bit. It's not your job, technically, but it feels wrong to turn away immediately, like watching someone leave a party without saying goodbye. The wheels rattle over loose stones. A limb slips loose, a hand. Pale, bent at the wrist. Jules reaches to tuck it back in. You stop him. Let it rest, you say. He lowers his hand. Do you think they feel anything? Now, he asks. You pause. I hope not. You peel off at the next corner. The sound of the cart lingers. It always does. echoes between buildings like a tin drum full of guilt. You walk past a shuttered inn. A dog lies outside, guarding nothing. Further on, a man stands with a shovel, eyeing you warily. Not digging graves, he says quickly, just clearing my cellar. You nod. Don't press. He probably is digging graves. You enter a courtyard. 3 doors. One has a white ribbon tied to the handle, makeshift signal for someone inside who might still be alive. You knock. No answer. You knock again, louder. Still silence. You enter. The air is thick, unmoving. Inside, the floor is littered with cloth dishes, feathers from a torn pillow. A woman lies on the ground, curled around something you can't see yet. You step closer. It's a book. She's cradling a book like it's her child. She's cold. You kneel. The book is a Bible dog-eared and water-damaged. Her fingers are still curled around the binding. You note entry 59. Adult female. Approx 30. Found clutching book. Likely prayer. You close her eyes. Back outside, the cart has returned. Gregoire looks more tired than before. Jules is missing. You point to the door. Gregoire groans. Let me guess. Light one. You shake your head. No. Heavy with hope. He mutters something about poets. You help this time. Between you, you lift the woman. She's not large, but she's stiff. Rigor sets in fast during fear. Gregoire lays her down. You place the Bible beside her. He raises an eyebrow. You carry scripture now. No, that one's hers. Fair. The cart creaks forward again. You sit on a stone bench beside a shuttered bakery. Your back aches. You write entry 60. Bible burial. No kin present. Possibly wanted company more than cure. Across the street, a man is burning clothes in a pit. The smoke smells of wool and bile. You wonder how many of your own layers you'd have to remove to feel clean again. Probably all of them. You hear footsteps. A child again. This one is different, cleaner. He holds a folded note. For you, he says. From the guild. You open it. It's written in haste. Doctor urgent report needed. Increase in South Ward deaths. Suspect rats. Visit Rue Shen. 3 homes marked. Proceed cautiously. You sigh. The guild always sends orders late once the trail's gone cold or the scent is thick in the air. You nod. The boy waits. You hand him a coin. He disappears. You fold the note and tuck it into your ledger. Then you rise. Your knees crack. Your spine protests. But you move. Because there's another alley. Another door. Another mark. Another life to record. Or bury. Or both. And always somewhere ahead, the creaking cart. Like a heartbeat. Only louder. You head toward Rue Shen Boots, slipping slightly on the damp cobbles. The street curves like a question mark, as if asking whether this was ever meant to be a place where people lived, or merely where they came to die. Your breath fogs inside the beak, clouding the glass in front of your eyes, turning each step into a kind of soft tunnel. At the entrance to the alley, you pause. There's movement ahead. Not human. Rats. Dozens of them.
They pour from a cracked barrel like liquid whiskers, twitching tails snaking behind them. Some dart under doors. Others vanish into drains. You stand very still. They don't seem to notice you. You watch them fascinated. They never wear masks, never burn herbs, and yet they flourish. Historians still argue whether it was the rats or the fleas or the humans who made the plague spread fastest. But the rats don't care. They just keep moving. You take a step forward. One rat pauses, looks up at you. Its eyes gleam. Then it climbs onto a low crate. You tilt your head. It doesn't run. Instead, it begins chewing on something, what might have once been the heel of a shoe or the corner of a book. It's hard to tell. You reach into your bag and pull out your sketchbook. Flip past the entries and scribbles until you find a blank page. You draw the rat, poorly, but earnestly. It looks more like a melting squirrel. You write underneath, observed rat Rushen, unafraid, possibly judging me. You look back up. The rat's gone. You enter the first house on the list, door ajar. Inside, the walls are streaked with soot. Someone's attempt at fumigation, maybe. Smoke stains curl up like black vines. You step into the front room. 3 beds, 2 occupied. You check them. One boy, maybe 9 years old, cold stiff. One older man, not yet dead. He opens his eyes when you lean close. They're gone, you nod. They said I'd be last, he murmurs, and I almost made them right. You examine him. Fever, yes, but no pustules. No swelling, no blackened limbs. Not plague, you say quietly. He blinks. Then what grief? Dehydration. Bad luck. He chuckles, which turns into a cough. You help him sit up. Offer water. He sips. I thought you'd be scarier, he says. I thought I'd be braver. He grins. You leave him with a little bundle of herbs and the advice to wait for the next guild runner, if they come. The second house has 3 red crosses on the door. You take a breath and push inside. The smell hits immediately. Stagnant. Sharp. Like meat that tried to become wine but gave up halfway. You count 2 adult bodies in the front room, one partially wrapped in a sheet. You glance around. Hear a faint squeaking sound. In the corner, a cage inside a rat. You walk over. It's fat, sleek, brown, clearly well fed. Its water bowl is empty, but the food dish is full. You tilt your head. Well, you say, looks like someone cared for you. You look around again. On a small table is a notebook open to a page labeled Specimen 3, Observations. Your eyebrows lift. Turns out the residents were studying the rats. The notes are shaky, but clear feeding patterns behavior during the sickening of humans' correlation between rat activity and onset of symptoms. You read one line twice. When rats leave, death follows within hours. You close the book gently. You reach for the cage. The rat stares at you. You hesitate, then open the latch. It doesn't move. You're free. Still, it stays. Perhaps it prefers the certainty of walls, even if they smell of death. You shrug. Same. You step out and chalk an updated mark on the door. 3 dead. 1 rat remains. No protocol for that. But who's watching? The 3rd house is boarded up. You knock anyway. Nothing. You walk around the back. The boards here are looser. You pry one loose. Squeeze through. Inside, it's cold. Empty. But not silent. There's a faint scurrying in the ceiling. You shine your lantern upward. The rafters writhe. Rats. An entire family of them. You nod once. Understood. You back out. You write in your notebook, entry 61. House abandoned. Inherited by rats. Possibly safer that way. Back on the main street, you sit on a broken bench. Your spine hums. Your shoulders sag. Your beak mask creaks as you tilt your head to the sky. Above you, a rat watches from the rooftop. You wave. It does not wave back. You pull out the sketchbook. Draw another rat. Better this time. You label it Overseer. You close the book and stand. Behind you, the wind picks up, carrying the scent of herbs ash, and something like laughter, but from no one you can see. You walk on. There are more houses to visit, and likely more rats to meet. You wonder who will outlive whom. You move slower now, not because your legs hurt, though they do, but because everything around you feels heavier. Not in the dramatic end-of-the-world way. No, it's more like a wet cloak someone draped over your shoulders without asking. It sags with every step. Your next stop is a house you visited before. Number 6, Rue Bellefaire. A pale green door, warped at the bottom from years of rain and rats chewing through. The brass knocker, shaped like a lion's head, is still intact, though rusted. You tap it out of habit. A quiet knock, knock, knock. You know no one will answer. Inside you find Madame Lestrelle. She's sitting upright on a wooden chair, back straight, hands folded in her lap, dressed in full mourning black veil down. She's dead, died with posture. You marvel at it for a moment. So few go with dignity. Then you spot the note pinned to her chest, carefully written. I waited. You didn't come. It's all right. Underneath it, another line in smaller script. Please mark me gently. You close your eyes, nod. You mark her as requested. Then you sit down beside her. You don't move for 5 minutes. Eventually, you rise. Write in your ledger, entry 62. Madame Lestrelle. Dressed for death. Forgave delay. You step outside. A boy on a rooftop tosses a stone that lands 2 feet from your boots. You glance up. He's barefoot, skin pale hair, wild. He grins. You missed her, Birdman. I know. Bet she forgave you anyway. She did. He seems impressed. Nobody forgives much these days. Not true. You forgive more than I should. Then you're in the wrong job. He vanishes behind a chimney. He's probably right. You keep walking. There's a strange quiet that comes when the street knows your name. When windows don't open anymore, not out of fear, but because they've already seen enough. You turn into a side street where someone once tried to start a garden. There are herbs growing wild now, thyme mostly, mint struggling, a patch of marigolds gone feral. You kneel, pick a sprig. Your fingers brush the dirt. It feels warm, alive. You hold the sprig up to your mask. Inhale, almost sweet. You tuck it into your satchel. You reach the next address, a low stone house with ivy climbing its walls. The door is ajar. You enter. Inside, a man is lying in bed, breathing shallowly. He's alone. His eyes open slowly when you approach. You took your time, he rasps. You waited. You reply. He smiles, weak but genuine. No one else did. You check his pulse. It flutters like a moth. You're not gone yet. Not for lack of trying. You inspect him. No buboes, no lesions, just exhaustion, malnutrition. He's barely tethered to this world. You offer him water. He refuses. Don't need it, he whispers, but stay. You do. You sit by his side. He watches you for a while. Then,
You got anything to read? You raise your brow. I mean aloud, he clarifies. Like a story, you think? Then pull your ledger from your bag. I can read you names, you say. He laughs. Names of the dead.
you sure know how to entertain? They're good names.
Fine, just one.
You flip to a random page.
Henrietta, seamstress. Loved cardamom. He nods. Solid start.
You flip again. Laurent.
Boy, made a flute from a reed. He smiles. That's better. Again. Benoit.
Ate 8 apples in one sitting.
Paid for it. He chuckles and went out full. You close the book. He leans back. Thanks, doctor. You're welcome. You check his pulse again. Still there. Faint, but there. You leave a small vial of rose water on his table. The label reads, in case of needing a better smell. He doesn't laugh, but he does wink. Outside, a young woman sits on a step. She's not crying, just staring. She sees you, nods once. No words. She understands. She's probably said all the words she needed to already. You walk past her not because you don't care, but because silence is sacred sometimes. You turn down one more street.
The houses are closer together here. Windows small. Doorways crooked. You stop and look around. Something feels different. You realize no one has died on this street today. Yet. It's eerie, like a party where no one's dancing. You move slowly, one house at a time, peering through cracks, listening for breath. Nothing, but not in the dreadful way. Just stillness. You write entry 63, Rue des Lunes, suspiciously quiet. Return tomorrow. And then you keep walking toward the next place where they need you, or want you, or fear you. Same thing most days. You are the doctor. You carry no cure. But still you walk. You've barely turned the next corner when you hear raised voices, sharp, impatient, clashing like wooden spoons in a pot. That sound always means one thing. Someone's arguing over a dead body. The voices come from a courtyard behind a tannery. You follow the noise, boots kicking up flakes of old leather and dried herbs scattered like forgotten offerings. The air smells of smoke, vinegar, and boiled things that never asked to be boiled. Two men stand in the middle of the courtyard. One of them wears a blood-streaked apron, sleeves rolled hands thick as ham hocks. He's a barber surgeon, obviously. The other is thin upright, with the same beaked mask as yours, though newer, shinier. He must be fresh from Paris. You sigh. Gentlemen, you say. They pause mid-argument. The barber surgeon squints. The beaked one nods slightly. Another beak, he mutters. Good. Maybe you'll talk sense into this, Butcher. The surgeon crosses his arms. Butcher gets results. You look down. Between them, a man lies covered by a sheet, one leg exposed, blackened at the toes, swollen. Cause of death, you ask. Plague, says the masked man. Gangrene, grunts the barber surgeon. You crouch. Pull back the sheet. His torso shows signs of swelling, no pustules, no bleeding from the gums. But the hands, blackened, curling inward. He was a fisherman, the surgeon offers. Fell through ice last week. I told him we might lose the foot. He waited too long. The masked man huffs. Classic bubo pattern. Blackened extremities. Clearly plague. You raise an eyebrow. Was he fevered? Only near the end. Any boils? None, says the surgeon. I'd stake my blades on it. You tilt your head at the masked man. Any autopsy. Autopsies are crude. He sniffs. Symptoms suffice. You nod. Scribble in your ledger. Entry 64. Fisherman. Disputed cause, plague, or gangrene. Future scholars will argue. Body cold, either way. Mark the house, the masked man asks. No, you reply. No confirmation. And the rats haven't fled. They both look confused. You don't explain. You leave the courtyard with a last glance back at the surgeon. He gives you a small nod. Mutual respect. He knows death too, just from a different angle. Further down the street, you pass a small wooden booth. A child stands behind it with a bucket of water and a stick. What are you selling, you ask? He beams, pokes. You blink, pokes. He demonstrates, dips the stick in the water, flicks it in your direction. It's plague protection, he announces proudly. You smile under the mask. Any customers? One. He points to a rat under the booth. It's wet. You reach into your pouch and drop a coin on the wood. Buy yourself something better. He grins. Like what? Maybe a bigger bucket. You keep walking. Your next stop is a schoolhouse, or what used to be one. A red X on the door. Faded chalk drawings on the outer wall. Flowers, stars, a lopsided horse. Inside, the air is dry. Rows of desks. One chalkboard. A skeleton still strung up in the corner, labeled Marcel. You chuckle. Still here. Marcel. You check each desk. Most are empty. One contains a child head resting on folded arms, as if asleep. You approach. She's gone. Quietly. No swelling, no mess. Just gone. You take a deep breath. Pull her arms gently aside and place a dried flower from your satchel in her hands.
You mark the door. Anew. X. One departed quietly. No others present. Marcel still in attendance. As you step outside, you pause and look back. A single chalk phrase near the door reads, "Learning never dies." You hope that's true. You head toward a fountain at the end of the square. The water is barely a trickle now, but it's clean enough to wash your gloves. You sit on the stone edge. A dog walks past with a shoe in its mouth. It nods at you. You nod back. You check your ledger. 64 entries today, and the sun hasn't even set yet. Your hand cramps as you try to write. You sigh. Then you hear coughing. You turn. A man sits nearby, hunched over, hacking into a cloth. His face is pale, but his eyes are clear. He looks up. "I'm not dying. Everyone says that. Not me. I'm just dramatic," you snort. He leans back. "I'm tired, though." "I know." You offer him a sprig of thyme. Helps the throat. He accepts it. Holds it like a relic. "Thanks, Doc." You glance at his house. A yellow cloth hangs from the window. The signal for suspected illness. You rise. "Rest," you say. "Tell me something hopeful." You pause. "The rats are leaving my street." He smiles. "That's something." You walk on. Sometimes your job is to check pulses. Sometimes it's to tell comforting lies. Sometimes it's to argue over corpses. But mostly, it's to walk. You do that well. You continue through a thinning part of the city streets where windows have been boarded up for so long, the wood has started to warp, and every creak of a shutter feels like a ghost exhaling. The air is still. Even the rats seem hesitant here. This is where the quiet people live and die. You check your ledger. Next stop, Rue Lavande, number 12. You know the house. A modest one, pale yellow with a crooked balcony and an old iron bell at the door that rarely rings anymore. You knock anyway. The door creaks open an inch. Inside, darkness. You hesitate. Then a voice, low, steady. "Doctor." You step in. She's standing in the center of the room, veiled, composed hands clasped in front of her, like she's hosting tea rather than grief. She nods to the back room. He's gone. Last night. You move toward the doorway. "Wait," she says. You pause. "I don't want you to help him." You blink behind your mask. He's already dead. "I know. That's why I want you to stay here with me." Your mouth goes dry. Even behind the beak you feel it. "I don't understand." She steps forward slightly. "You will." "I've been alone through every part of this. I birthed 3 children in this house, lost 2, buried 1. This was my husband. He was cruel sometimes, but he held my hand when my second daughter died. He made tea when my hair fell out from fever." You say nothing. She walks to a chair and sits. Her veil shifts with her breath. "I don't need healing. I just need not to be alone tonight." You set your satchel down, gently. It makes a soft thud. You sit across from her. Neither of you speaks. The house groans a little in the quiet wood. shifting like an old spine. You listen to the wind nudge the curtains. A plate clinks slightly on the sideboard. "I know you're not supposed to do this," she says softly. You shrug. "There are a lot of things I'm not supposed to do. You won't get in trouble." "Who would I tell?" "The man who argues about toes and boils." She smiles faintly. "I used to imagine what I'd say when he died," she admits. "But now, all I want is someone else to remember he lived." You nod. "Tell me something about him." She doesn't answer right away. Then he snored, like a dragon fighting sleep. "I used to threaten him with a spoon. That's love. It was something. You listen." She talks. Not always about him. Sometimes about the wall color. Sometimes about how the cat used to bring her dead birds. Sometimes about nothing at all. You listen to all of it. Eventually, she asks, "Do you think they'll ever find a cure?" You sigh. Historians still argue whether any of this was ever curable. "Then why do you keep coming?" You glance at your hands. "So that someone's here, that's the job. It shouldn't have to be." "No." You rise eventually. She doesn't stop you. At the door, you pause. She says, "Don't mark the house yet. Let him rest a little longer." You nod. Outside, the sun has dipped below the rooftops. The sky bruises into lavender and rust. The street lamp at the corner flickers to life, a miracle that anything still works in this city. You hear music, faint. You follow it. Around the bend, you see a boy playing a flute made of bamboo. It's cracked and patched with string, but it whistles something soft and ancient. You sit on a bench nearby. He doesn't look at you, just keeps playing. A dog lies beside him, tail flicking rhythmically. The music stumbles. He frowns, adjusts a finger, keeps going. You realize he's not playing for coins. He's playing to remember what sound feels like. You drop a coin anyway. He nods, doesn't stop. You write in your ledger, entry 65. Music persists. Boy and dog at corner of Rue Despair. No plague detected, but spirit contagious. The wind picks up. You smell cinnamon, oddly. You suspect someone nearby is trying their own plague remedy. You don't knock on their door. Let them have the illusion. You turn back toward the inner quarter. There's a cart in the distance. Bodies stacked cloth over faces, feet sticking out like crooked bookmarks. The cart creaks as it moves. You don't follow it today. You've done your share of lifting. Tonight you walk instead toward Rue du Sol, where a friend once lived. He's gone now, but you remember he had good tea. You might stop there, boil water, sit in silence, pretend the world doesn't hurt as much as it does, just for a while, just until the beak mask comes off. You head toward the narrow, twisting corridor of Rue du Sol, the alley that seems to exist between this world and the next. Every time you turn down this path, the air feels different, quieter. Somehow, padded, like sound avoids it out of respect. This is the place where doors don't creak, footsteps don't echo, and death walks politely in slippers.
The house you're looking for sits beneath a withered tree. Once the tree was blooming, year-round cherry blossoms in spring, then lilacs in summer. Now it's just a skeleton of branches, scratching the shutters like a lonely ant asking to be let in. You knock once. The door swings open, as if it's been waiting. Inside, it's warmer than most homes. Candles burn low in every room. You smell cloves, not rotting flesh, just cloves. A man meets you at the threshold, mid-30s, gaunt but composed. He's wearing a scarf over his mouth, though not the regulation one. "Doctor," he says, not asking, but confirming. You nod. He steps aside. You walk in. There's a young woman lying on the bed wrapped in 3 blankets, cheeks flushed. Her breath is shallow but not ragged. Her eyes flutter open as you approach. She's had a fever for 2 days, the man explains. No rash, no swelling, no bleeding. You kneel. Feel her forehead. Warm, very warm, but no lesions. She speaks just above a whisper. You're real. Yes, not a ghost. Not yet. She smiles faintly. You pull your candle lamp closer and check her pulse. It's steady, weak, but steady. She might pull through, you murmur. I hope so, says the man. She's my sister, my only one. You nod. You reach into your satchel and pull out a tiny sachet rosemary thyme and dried orange peel. Put this near her pillow. It won't cure her, you warn, but it will make the air kinder. He takes it as if it's sacred. You scribble in your ledger, entry 66. Young woman, Rue du Sol. No plague signs. Hopeful pulse. Clove air. As you stand to leave, the man stops you. There's something else. You brace yourself. My neighbor across the way. He's gone. But no one will mark his door. His wife is too shaken. Could you? You nod. Of course. You cross the alley. The house is small walls patched with mud and straw. The door is ajar. You see no movement inside. You step through slowly. The man lies on the floor, curled as if asleep. A broken mug nearby. No sign of struggle, no blood. Just the silence of a room that's had its last conversation. You mark the doorway with a chalked X, then add a second line beneath it, your own small code for body present, no signs of infection. You glance up. In the window, a woman watches you. Her eyes are red, but dry. She doesn't speak. You don't wave. But you both nod in acknowledgement of shared duty. You write entry 67, deceased male. Quiet passing, neighbor reported. Widow present, composed. The sun begins to dip low, more orange now than gold. It spills between buildings in streaks like melted copper. You walk toward a familiar route, the long way back through what's known as the Painter's Quarter. Not many painters left these days, but the walls are still filled with their ghosts. Murals in faded ochre, saints with hollow eyes, angels missing wings, a ship that was once vibrant blue, now sailing into beige oblivion. You pause by one fresco. It shows a woman cradling a child. The paint has peeled, and the child's face is gone. Just an oval of exposed stone. You think sometimes absence is louder than presence. Further down, you hear a creak. A door opens. An old man shuffles out carrying a chair and a loaf of bread. He places the chair in front of his doorway and sits. "Evening," he says, unbothered by your mask. "Evening." He tears the loaf in two, offers you half. You hesitate, but take it.
Still warm, he notes proudly. It is. You marking doors today, yes. Good. He chews in silence. You chew too. After a minute he says, I used to hate doctors, but I like you people now. You walk slow. You listen. That's the job. Not all of them do it. You shrug. He gestures at the beak, that thing ever itch constantly. He laughs a raspy wheeze that sounds more alive than anything you've heard all day. You stand. Thanks for the bread. Thanks for not rushing off. As you walk away, he calls out, Tell people I made good loaves. That's all I want remembered. You lift your ledger. Entry 68. Baker. Generous. Still warm bread. Wants to be remembered for loaves. It's a good entry. Maybe one of the best today. And maybe, just maybe, it's enough. The light is beginning to slip. You notice how the long shadows stretch like fingers over the cobblestones. The city shifts with dusk, not quieter exactly, but slower, more careful. Even the plague seems to pause just for a moment, as if respectfully observing the change of shift. You cross into 6th Street. That's not its real name, of course, but no one uses the real one anymore. The signs were taken down months ago, the letters scrubbed off. There's no point naming a place if the people in it don't last long enough to remember. You step through a puddle that reflects the sky. The clouds overhead look like bruises, thick and purple. The smell here is sharper, less rotted meat, more wet fabric, and old breath. The kind of scent that clings to memories you wish didn't return at night. The street is unusually still. Then, from one of the upper windows, a woman calls out, voice hoarse, "Doctor!" You stop. "3rd floor," she croaks. "Please." You push through a heavy wooden door that leans slightly off its hinges. Inside, the stairs sag and complain with every step. Cobwebs drape from the corners like forgotten banners. At the top, she waits. Maybe 40 years old, or maybe 60. It's hard to tell these days. Grief ages everyone differently. She opens the door wide. "My husband," she says. He's still breathing, but not much. You walk in. The man is laid out on a blanket, limbs thin as reed stems, mouth parted just enough to whisper something you'll never quite catch. He looks at you, or rather, he looks at the mask. You kneel and feel for his pulse. It's there, but wandering, like a child lost in a market. You say softly, "You're very ill." He tries to nod, doesn't succeed. You check his arms, no buboes, no lesions, just weakness, just time catching up. You look to the wife. What's his name? Etienne. You scribble. Entry 69. Etienne. Breathing shallow. No plague markers. Comfort offered. You stay. 10 minutes. Maybe more. You dampen a cloth. Hold his hand. It's cool. You hum something, some old lullaby your mother sang when you had a fever and believed monsters lived under the bed. He doesn't speak again. But when he passes, it's with a tiny exhale like a candle letting go of its flame. You fold his hands gently. The wife watches hands over her chest like she's holding in the pain, trying not to let it spill all over the floor. He was good, she says. You nod. I can tell. She doesn't cry. Not now. Maybe later. Maybe when the door closes. You step outside and draw a soft chalk X on the wall. Not harsh. Not rushed. Just a closing note. The wind picks up. A shutter bangs open somewhere behind you. And then you hear it. The cough. Not a polite one. Not just a tickle in the throat. The deep, wet kind. From across the street. You look. A boy, maybe 12, sits on a stoop, arms around his knees. He sees you and tries to hide his face. But it's too late. You cross quickly. Who's with you? You no one. You live here. He nods. Anyone else? Else? He shakes his head. My mother went out. She hasn't come back. How long ago? Yesterday. You glance behind him. The door's open. Inside, the floor is clean. Someone's tried to sweep. You step in. One room. 2 beds. A few apples in a bowl. A doll missing a leg. He follows. Hovers. You check his forehead. Warm but not burning. He coughs again. You kneel. I'm going to leave you something. You keep it near your pillow. He nods. You pull out another sachet. Fewer herbs left now. You make a mental note to restock. Don't go out, you say. If your mother returns, tell her to find me. You scrawl entry 70. Boy alone. Mild cough. Monitor closely. Address uncertain. Doll with missing leg. You leave an extra apple from your satchel by the table. Back in the street, the air feels different, heavier. You realize the coughs are starting again. From windows, from alleys. A small wave rippling through the neighborhood. You feel it in your chest, not as illness, but as dread. This street isn't sick. It's becoming sick. The line between safety and outbreak is blurring like ink in rain. You hurry now. Mark 3 more doors in quick succession. 2 red cloths. 1 body. You stop only once when a man hands you a bundle of letters. Please, he says, just give them to someone. Anyone. I don't want to be forgotten. You don't open them. Just tuck them in your coat. Later, maybe you'll read one. Maybe you'll send it, even if the address is long buried. You reach the edge of 6th Street. The lamps have all burned out. No one's relit them in days. You walk back in darkness, not afraid, just tired. Each step echoes like a farewell. You reach the edge of the old quarter and cross into the quarantine zone. a liminal place between the city and something quieter, more resigned. Here, the buildings lean away from each other, as if trying not to catch anything. The alleys are cleaner, but only because fewer people remain to make a mess. This is where you sleep, for now. The quarantine house is a long, narrow structure built from pale stone. Once, it was a school, maybe even a small convent. Now it holds the ones who walk among the sick but still live, for now. You unlatch the wooden gate. It moans like it's tired too. Inside there's a low hallway lit with candles melted down. So far their wax forms a landscape of frozen drips. The light is soft enough to let your eyes rest, but not so dim you forget where you are. You head straight for the washroom. You remove your mask first. It's always the mask. You place it on the small table by the mirror. The curved beak tilts to the side, catching the candlelight. Without it, your face looks younger, or just more human. Your cheeks are flushed, your eyes glassy from hours of breathing in your own fear. You begin to undress. The gloves come off with a peel, the coat with a slow shrug. Your shirt clings to your back, damp with sweat. You drop everything into the scalding bucket beside the hearth. The water hisses like it's offended. You pour more boiled water over it. A scent of vinegar and lye rises like some unholy tea. There's a basin set aside for scrubbing. You use ash soap, the only kind that still exists in bulk. It burns a little. You welcome the sting. You clean your hands, your arms, your face. You dip your head into the basin and feel the brief burning cold of sterilized water against your scalp. You emerge, dripping and reborn, at least for the evening. Someone knocks at the doorframe. It's the other plague doctor, not your replacement, just your mirror. The city thought one wasn't enough, then realized two were still too few. But they kept you both on, perhaps to say they tried. He nods once. Rough day, which one isn't? He holds out a mug. Tea, thin, oversteeped, slightly bitter. Perfect. You sit together on the stone bench beside the hearth. The fire cracks softly. He says, "Lost 3 today. 2 children." You sip. 4. 1 alone. Was he scared? No, just quiet. A pause. He says, "Do you ever dream of the mask?" You nod. "Me too," he mutters. "Sometimes I dream I'm the one lying on the floor and someone else leans over me. But they're not wearing the mask. They're wearing my face." You blink. He smiles awkwardly. "Sorry, that got dark." You clink mugs. "It's always dark." Another pause. You ask, "Would you do it again? If you had the choice?" He leans back, eyes fixed on the flames. Historians still argue whether any of us truly chose this. You both laugh, dry as parchment. Eventually, he stands. "Sleep well. You too." He leaves. You stare at the fire a moment longer, watching the embers shift like slow thoughts. Then you rise and make your way to your cot. Your bed is simple wooden frame, hay mattress, 1 blanket. But it's yours, for now. You lie down slowly, feeling each bone settle like a book being returned to a shelf.
The ceiling above is cracked one long fracture, like a lightning scar. You stare at it until your eyes blur. Then you sit back up. There's one more thing to do. You retrieve your ledger from the side table and open to today's page. The entries sprawl across it. Names, notes, small symbols only you understand. It smells faintly of cloves and ash and ink. You dip your pen and begin. Entry 71. Sunset over Rue Lavande. Widow requested presence. No cure given. Human comfort offered. Entry 72. Etienne. Quiet death. Candle lit. Widow didn't cry. Entry 73. Boy with cough. Uncertain. Apple left. Doll missing leg. Entry 74. Letters received. To be delivered. Name unreadable. Request remembrance. You write slower now. Deliberate. Each word like a stone on the shore. The ink fades near the end of the page, but you don't refill it. You just let it taper. Your hand rests beside the book. You close your eyes. And for the first time all day, the silence doesn't feel like an enemy.
Just a curtain, drawn gently. Until morning. Your eyes are heavy now, but not from sleep. Sleep is earned, and in this life, it's often delayed. Still you breathe slower. Let the rhythm of the fire, the creak of the old beams, and the quiet outside begin to lull you into something softer than exhaustion. You open your ledger one last time, not to write anything new, just to review, to remember. The names don't form a story. They don't need to. They simply remind you that these people existed, that someone was there, that someone cared enough to write them down. You reach the bottom of the page and trace the last line with your finger. The ink has dried into the fibers of the parchment. It will last longer than most of the homes you visited today. You return the ledger to the shelf. Next to it sits your mask. You regard it for a moment. The beak, the glass eyes, the curve of it like a half-finished thought. Some say the mask makes you inhuman, that it removes your face from the pain. Maybe that's true. But here in this quiet space, you see it differently. It's a barrier, yes. But it's also a shield. You stand and stretch vertebrae, cracking like branches underfoot. Your joints hum with the ache of the day. Not sharp pain, just the kind that settles in when you've done too much, too often for too long. You check the water in the pot by the fire, still warm. You dip a cloth and press it to your forehead. It helps. The city outside has gone still. The bells haven't rung in hours. Even the cats have gone silent. You walk slowly to the window and crack the shutter. Just an inch. Outside, the stars are scattered like spilled flour across a dark table. You listen. No moans. No carts. Just wind. You think of the boy with the cough. You think of the man with the bread. You think of the widow who didn't want her husband saved, just remembered. And you wonder if anyone will mark your door one day. Maybe someone will, maybe not. Either way, the work will continue, whether you're here or not, because the plague doesn't wait, and neither do those who walk into it willingly. You return to bed, blanket pulled to your chin. You face the wall, but your mind still lingers on rooftops, chimneys, ink trails, and beaked masks bobbing through misty streets. Somewhere across town, someone else is coughing. Somewhere else, someone is praying. You drift. The room grows blurry. The fire softens. And everything slows. You're floating now. Not in water, not in air. Just somewhere else. Somewhere quieter than both. The city is far behind you. The stones, the masks, the coughing. It all fades. You feel the weight of your limbs lessen, like your body has remembered. It doesn't always need to carry so much. Your breath evens out. Your thoughts unfold like pages turned by a gentle breeze. The sound around you becomes softer, only the hush of wind slipping past curtains, only the distant memory of candlelight. You're no longer standing in cold streets, no longer marking doors, no longer recording names. You'll never speak aloud. You are simply here, at rest. And though tomorrow may come with new faces, new names, new burdens, you don't need to carry them yet. For now, you are safe, you are held, you are still. The fire hums, the mask sleeps, and so do you.